I can't believe I missed it.
Okay.
So what do you pull her over for? She's driving while black?
As much as we evade it, racism still manages to exist in the police mindset. But people like Judge Fleischer don't let it slip. Here are moments when Judge Fleischer exposes racism in court, starting with the case of Mr. Keon Shaw, who was arrested for dangerous driving, but Mr. Fleischer just couldn't find the probable cause.
Mr. Shaw, you're charged with fleeing a police officer. You're facing up to 6 months in jail and or a $2,000 fine. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you, sir.
Yes, Judge. On October 27, 2024, the officer was conducting a routine patrol on Eldridge Parkway when he noticed the defendant's motor vehicle traveling at an unsafe speed, exceeding the posted 35-mile-per-hour zone. The vehicle then began driving in a suspicious manner by making a sudden left turn on the street and immediately parking on the left side of the road. When the vehicle noticed the officer's fully marked patrol vehicle passing, it immediately conducted a U-turn and got back on the main road. When the officer continued to follow the defendant's vehicle, the vehicle again conducted a left turn and pulled into an alleyway. When the officer initiated his emergency equipment in an attempt to conduct a traffic stop, the defendant's motor vehicle passed multiple safe stopping points before finally coming to a stop after traveling 0.5 miles through a dark and empty parking lot.
What was he doing wrong?
Judge Fleischer spent over 5 seconds for it to make sense, trying to imagine what may have caused the police officer to pull over Mr. Shaw, but couldn't find one.
The officer, he was originally traveling at an unsafe speed, exceeding the speed limit, 35 miles. He was exceeding that speed limit.
By how much?
Let me see the DMs if he specified. Your Honor, he did not specify. It was just an unsafe speed exceeding the limit. And then
Nothing's unsafe to me.
And then he began driving, according to the officer, in a suspicious manner, making sudden turns and then stopping on the side of the road and then getting back on the road once the officer passed. So
Anything illegal with that? You know?
I believe it would just be the speed limit would be the point at which the officer.
It's a conclusory statement. We need to have like a workshop on how to write ORs, man, for real. You know, everything in this office report is conclusory, suspicious, aloysius. You know, is he driving while black?
And the attorney couldn't even find a reasonable answer to the only question asked by Judge Fleischer. And then they decided to bring in the arresting officer, but that didn't turn out great either.
Okay, come on up, Mr. Shaw. All right, so we're gonna do Shaw now since he's, yeah. All right. Okay, so Mr. Shaw, we're back on you. So just because we do so much, I tend to forget everything, you know. You're charged with fleeing a police officer. You're facing up to 6 months in jail and a $2,000 fine. We left off because we were doing probable cause, and I had an issue because it seemed like the cause was kind of conclusory at the time. And do you have anything new?
No, Judge, and I agree with the court.
So, okay, I'm going to find no probable cause.
Dismissing the case.
Find no probable cause. Be careful when you're out there. It's hard enough as it is. Don't give anyone else the power to even bring more, you know, trouble on your life. All right?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Good luck.
And just like that, Judge Fleischer disregarded the case against Mr. Shaw, who was facing multiple months in jail for fleeing a police officer without any probable cause. Crazy how some cops think they can go left and right arresting people, but can't even make it make sense when it comes to court dates. Something similar happened with our next case.
Mr. Gaston, you're charged with 2 cases. You're charged with evading arrest or detention and unlawful carrying of a weapon. You are facing up to a year in jail and or a $4,000 fine on both of those cases. We are going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you, sir.
On March 14th, 2025, an officer observed a vehicle speeding on Gulf Freeway feeder by radar device going 72 miles per hour in a 40-mile-per-hour zone. The officer then observed the vehicle turn left at a red light. A traffic stop was initiated. The officer instructed the driver to step out of the vehicle, and the officer began to detain the driver. As the officer was detaining the driver, the front passenger, the defendant, exited the vehicle. The officer instructed the defendant to return to the vehicle, and the defendant ignored the officer's instructions and started to walk away. The officer ordered the defendant to stop, and the defendant started running northbound. The officer observed the defendant place his left hand near the front of his waistband and throw a small black and blue object near a fence. The officer informed other officers of the defendant's location. Officers observed the defendant running eastbound on the 3,300th block of Scott Street and attempted to apprehend the defendant. The defendant was apprehended at the 3,100th block of Milby Street, approximately 0.2 miles away from the scene. The officers searched the area and located a firearm. The officer remained in visual contact with the location and no individuals approached that area.
What were they doing wrong? I mean, did the officer just stop them and just arrest them? What for?
And the same story repeats itself. The defendant was arrested, but the main question remains, what for? Even the prosecutor couldn't convince herself, let alone the court.
I'm not sure why the officer immediately detained him.
Really? Is that what we do now? We just stop and arrest? No, I'm gonna find no probable cause in your case. Just be careful, man. If you have a gun, God forbid you use it, something happens, you dig yourself in a hole. Come on, man. We got one life. Be smart. Go to school, get some knowledge, make a ton of money, you know? Take a seat, please. Thanks, bud.
Judge Fleischer doesn't play around. There was no reason for the cops to arrest, let alone guide the passenger in a traffic stop, and the judge made sure no one was exploited. And then he had even more questions that made you ask about the authenticity of this stop. Was it really safety of the police, or more about racial profiling?
Did they arrest the driver? I mean, did they charge him with anything? Do you know? Do we have him for anything?
No, there's no connected cases.
Just driving while black.
Your Honor, I would just, I'm gonna put something out here. It was a speeding stop where the passenger was getting out of the car. I would say the officer would have the right to at least make sure the passenger was in the car while he was conducting a stop. That's his.
Yes.
I don't even think that's an arrestable offense. You know? It's not an arrestable offense. They just literally pull him out, he's speeding, and they arrest him. And then the co-defendant's doing nothing wrong. He just gets out of the car. He can just walk away. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong.
And then, if a bus driver is breaking the law, are the people traveling in the bus also supposed to be questioned? With that simple question, one can sense that the arrest was not lawful. Much like the next case Judge Fleischer busted open, another day, another case without probable cause, just racial profiling.
On April 20, 2025, in Harris County, Texas, a law enforcement officer was dispatched to a disturbance of a weapon call at a hotel. The hotel staff said an unidentified third party alerted them that the defendant had a weapon. The defendant was detained, and a witness told the law enforcement officers that the defendant had a backpack behind a bush prior to the law enforcement officer's arrival. The backpack was recovered and a handgun was found in the backpack. The defendant is currently 19 years old.
You like Skip. How did they know the backpack was his? What was he doing wrong?
There was a witness, Your Honor, that stated that they saw the defendant hide the backpack behind a bush. And the hotel staff identified the defendant as the individual that they were told had a gun. And that's what the officer.
Was he just standing while black or something? What's he doing wrong?
They were just alerted.
No. I'm gonna find no probable cause in your case, Mr.
And then comes the signature Judge Fleischer advice on doing better with your life.
Mr. Narcisse, be careful, man. So many out there out to get you, put you down. You know, you're 19. Do something with your life. Don't become a statistic. Hang tight for me, man.
This may have been the fastest case Judge Fleischer had dismissed. Didn't take more than 2 minutes for the whole ordeal, and a case that could have cost this young 19-year-old years of his life was dismissed. Judge Fleischer is quick with his justice, but sometimes he also needs help. This time he did it with some help from a very smart lawyer.
The second one is I was wondering if we could revisit PC on Miss Groves. I'm sorry.
This is the
Failure to ID.
Okay.
Yes.
On April 2nd, 2025, in Harris County, Texas, the law enforcement officer initiated a traffic stop and made contact with the defendant. Upon requesting identification from the defendant stated he did not have his own identification, wrote her name, and did verify that the officer could not confirm. The law enforcement officer eventually matched the vehicle registration to the defendant's long driver's license.
The problem here, if I remember correctly, that he asks her to give name, date of birth. She writes something different. That's not her identifying information.
Yes, Your Honor.
I think the issue with probable cause, Your Honor, is under the statute, she needs to be lawfully stopped, and there's no justification for the stop.
Oh, I guess I didn't even think about it. Well, what was the stop for? Did you tell me? I don't remember.
Just a little nudge in the right direction, and Judge Fleischer is ready to serve the good old justice.
Your Honor, the only thing I have in the addendums is that it says law enforcement officer self-initiated traffic stop.
Oh, I can't believe I missed it.
Okay.
So what do you pull her over for?
Yeah, there's no.
She driving while black? No. Okay, no probable cause.
Okay, great. Thank you, Your Honor.
This must be divine intervention because I never signed the probable cause order in your case like you do with every single case. It's been sitting in the queue.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Meant to be.
This may have been the fastest time for a case to be dismissed. No BS, just straight justice. That's Judge David Fleischer for you. No probable cause was found, and the defendant didn't have to show up either. Most probably another case of racial profiling. With that thought, do you think we should have qualified immunity for policemen in the country? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Let's discuss. Now, let's tell you about another bad arrest just because you look different.
An officer initiated a traffic stop in Harris County, Texas, after observing the defendant exceed a speed limit of 45 miles per hour and make unsafe lane changes. The defendant did not have his driver's license, but told the officer his name and date of birth. While the officer was running the defendant's name, he observed the defendant exit his vehicle, and the officer told the defendant to get back inside the vehicle. And the defendant responded, "Do I have to?" The officer exited the vehicle and attempted to detain the defendant. The defendant tensed up and locked his arms.
Everything is conclusory. And what has he done wrong?
You're right.
What?
Was the initial lane changes, unsafe lane changes, and the exceeding the speed limit that prompted the stop. And then at that point, he was just
Stop. How exceeding speed limit? How fast was he going? I mean,
With such straight questions, the attorney needed some help, and even that seemed to be terrible answers.
I spoke to the officer this morning. He told me that he was pacing the defendant at 54 miles per hour.
okay, in a what? In a what? I mean, if it's on 610, he's fine, right? And then he's interference duties. What is he interfering with? What did he do wrong?
I think it was after the stop was initiated, the officer was running the plates. The defendant stepped out of his vehicle. The officer told him to get back in the vehicle. The defendant said, "Do I have to?" The officer told me that.
And that's the basis of arrest?
Yeah,
Yes,
but you're on.
Don't. Are you losing? Okay.
And yet again, another classic Judge Fleischer moment where he doesn't mess around. Don't talk until you need to. The defendant wanted to say something, and it could have been terrible for his own case, so Judge Fleischer didn't let him. Isn't that worth commending?
And Your Honor, furthermore, as he was attempting to detain him, he locked his arms and tensed up. So as he was attempting to detain him, following that incident of him telling him to get back to the vehicle. And it was
That's the basis for arrest.
it was just a temporary
What?
it was just an attempt to detain him while he was trying to
What's he doing wrong?
He had
What's he doing wrong?
65.
No, I don't think so. Mm-mm. You find no probable cause. No, it's just, he gets out of the car and then it just the virtue of fact him getting out in the car is interfering with the duties. Really? No. Just, when you get into, just be careful out there, man. Life is hard as it is. When you get into, you gotta be careful, man. People always are out to get you. Be nice. It's not hard. Things will go well for you, Look, I got it. I'm with you, okay? Just hang tight with me for a second, okay? All right.
The attorney tried his best, but still couldn't convince the judge about the crime at hand, and this innocent man was let go with the signature life advice. He often says, if you get in a pissing match with the cops, more often than not, you'd lose. And that's advice you need to live by. Just check out what happened with this poor guy.
Cameron, Gus, Mr. Gus, you're charged with unlawful carrying of a weapon. You're facing up to a year in jail and or a $4,000 fine. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. Excuse me, you have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you, sir.
Officers in Harris County, Texas observed the defendant driving at a high rate of speed and attempted to gauge that vehicle's speed. As the officer pulled out to pace the defendant, he heard the defendant accelerate at a high rate of speed. Officers initiated emergency lights and began to pursue the defendant in an attempt to conduct a traffic stop, reaching speeds of up to 130 miles an hour.
130?
Yes, Judge, just to catch up to the defendant. While on the South Loop, the defendant turned off all of his lights in an attempt to escape police custody. After approximately 2.9 miles, the defendant pulled over and him along with 2 other passengers were detained. While being detained, the defendant stated, quote, "I know what I did," and told officers that a handgun was in the vehicle. Officers found a black handgun on the driver's side seat, unholstered in plain view. Miranda rights were read, and defendant did admit to owning the gun. And this is connected to a felony evading, Judge.
How do you think this case unfolded? Well, get ready for some Judge David logic that leaves people in awe.
And I see that it was discharged. What happened on that? And tell me, what initially led the cops to him? What was he doing wrong initially?
It looks like they had already observed him driving at a high rate of speed, but it doesn't look like there's a number that they paced him at. I believe that may
That's
have
why.
been the reason. Yes, Judge.
Fine. I mean, or look in the report.
I can check the report. for you,
Please.
Judge. Yes,
Because
Judge.
if they can't, if it's just conclusory,
I understand.
you know, well,
There's the way the report is read. It just says they observe him traveling at a high rate of speed. Do you mind giving me a couple minutes to call the officer before we make a ruling on PC? Or do you just want to make a ruling now? Because the offense report is very lacking. They might
no, I'm
have.
just going to rule now.
I
You guys
understand.
can just go re-indict it.
Yes, Judge.
You
I
know,
understand.
Mr. Gus, I'm going to find no probable cause in your case, but let me alert you to one thing. You know, every single day, multiple people die in Harris County because people drive in a boneheaded manner. You know, we're not asking for much. We just want our streets to be safe. You know, I'm going to find no probable cause now. But keep our streets safe. We're not asking for much. You know, when you're doing things that you're not supposed to do, bad things are going to happen. Your life is hard enough as it is. When you pick up felonies and misdemeanors, all you're doing is you're making your life even more difficult. What are you doing with yourself these days?
I do.
Yeah, what do you do?
I'm a welder in the plant.
You're a welder, so you make great money. You want to throw your life away because of some stupid, you know? Make better decisions, all right? All right, hang tight for me. Just take a seat back.
Here, this was a second chance at life given by the judge to this young welder. He doesn't want people behind bars. Instead, Judge Fleischer wants people to live a good life, and he wants to ensure that people get that. This may have been a case of letting go, but again, Judge Fleischer doesn't want young people to waste their lives. Do you agree with his ruling? Share your views. Here's another case that will make you question everything.
On November 22nd, 2024, the officer observed the defendant's vehicle parked more than 18 inches from a curb on a public roadway in the right lane of a two-way road in Harris County, Texas. While the officer ran the motor vehicle, the passenger side door opened, a black female exited, and the female approached the patrol vehicle. The officer made contact with the female and observed a strong odor of marijuana emanating from the female. The officer made contact with the defendant, the driver of the vehicle, and observed a strong odor of marijuana and had the defendant exit the motor vehicle. A PC search was conducted and the officer located 3.5 in the driver's side door and 1 blue package with Oops All Berry on the front containing green leafy substance on the rear driver's side floorboard, 1 red package with Fruity Pebbles on the front containing a green leafy substance in the back seat, and 2 clear plastic baggies containing green leafy substance under the front right passenger seat, The officer also observed one burnt marijuana cigar behind the front passenger seat and one small chunk of loose green leafy substance in between the driver's seat and the door. The green leafy substance was identified as marijuana based on training experience, and the weight was 54 grams or 1.9 ounces.
He was doing what that was wrong?
So he was parked more than 18 inches from the curb on the right lane of a two-way road. So he was out.
On earth are you gonna know that you're parking more than 18 inches? What time of day or night was this?
Your Honor.
Is it parking while black now?
You have to love it when Judge Fleischer goes straight to the point and asks the right questions. Imagine minding your own business in a parked car and getting a pat down from the police. Questionable, right? Well, that's exactly what Judge Fleischer wants us to know.
Yeah. Your Honor, there's no time listed. It just says the officer was on patrol around the 3518 block of Arbor Glen Drive when he observed the vehicle parked more than 18 inches from the curb.
And so he goes up to the car because of that?
No, Your Honor, a female passenger side exited the passenger side and approached their vehicle, and he observed a marijuana
Well,
from
but because he comes up to them. Right? Stop. Are you losing?
The officer wrote as he ran the vehicle, presumably the license plate.
Right, he pulls him over.
They were already parked on the side of the road 18 inches from the curb, and he came, I guess, parked behind, and he was running the vehicle, and then the passenger side door opened, a black female exited and approached his vehicle, the patrol vehicle, and he observed an odor of marijuana on the female, and then he made contact with the driver, where he observed marijuana odor in the vehicle. So the female approached the patrol vehicle.
Show me in the penal code that code. What is the penal code for that?
Regarding the 18 inches from the curb, sir, is that the
Yeah.
issue of what we're talking about?
Yeah, because they come to him because he comes to them. Right, they're just parked. He comes to them.
The defendant didn't even need an attorney to bring such points forward. Judge Fleischer does the work for them. That's one of the biggest reasons to respect him. Not only does he ask the right questions, he even puts in the time and effort to go through the laws and penal codes to make sure that no innocent gets hurt. And in this case, to make racism doesn't cause an innocent young man to fall victim.
It's got to be a transportation code, not penal code, you know?
And Your Honor, regarding the timeline of events, it does appear that when they were parked that distance away, which could be arguably further, I don't know what it looked like at that time, but the female passenger is the one who exited first, and that was before officers ever made contact with them. So I don't know if you were thinking that the officers approached them first, but I just wanted to clarify that she approached first.
What time of day or night was this?
Trying to see that, Your Honor, in a second. Is it 4 in the morning?
And Your Honor,
4 in the morning.
4:30 a.m.
And you can delineate at 4 in the morning that parking 18 inches from a curb.
And I found the regulation, the statute in the transportation code where it says you have to park within 18 inches.
At 4 in the morning, you can tell.
Your Honor, the officer was,
Yeah,
yes.
I don't think so. All right, I'm gonna find no probable cause.
Yes,
All
Judge.
Guys, be careful, right? You know, they're always out there. Just be careful, do something with your life. Knowledge is power. Get into school, get an education, do something with your life. Life is hard as it is. And it only gets more difficult the older you get, all right? Okay, guys, please.
And we'll be sure to call the officer.
But seriously, getting searched because you were parked 18 inches from the curb? Isn't that just a police state kind of logic to arrest someone? What would you like to say about such an arrest?
Good morning, sir. Good morning. Sir, you were charged with driving while intoxicated. First offense, it's elevated to a Class A misdemeanor because of the high blow. You are facing up to a year in jail and or a $4,000 fine. We are going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you, sir. Okay.
On March 17th, 2025, an officer was dispatched to a call for service at the 400th block of West Gray Street, Houston, Harris County, Texas. Upon arrival, the officer observed the defendant sitting inside his vehicle. The officer made contact with the defendant and observed the defendant to have bloodshot eyes, unsteady balance, and was confused. The defendant stated he didn't have anything to drink. A Houston Fire Department employee, the wheel witness, stated the defendant was asleep in the driver's side of the vehicle with his foot on the brake and the vehicle in drive. The wheel witness stated he had a hard time waking up the defendant. SFSTs were conducted. 6 out of 6 clues were observed on the HGN. 5 out of 8 clues observed on the walk-in turn. 3 out of 4 clues observed on the one-leg stand. The DIC was read and the defendant consented to a breath test. The results were 0.179 and 0.175.
Where was he? Was he in the middle of the road?
It sounds like,
The
yeah, I don't. So it says that he was sitting inside his vehicle on the 400th block of West Gray Street, which is accessible to the public. On a public road.
Oh, please. I have no idea what that is, where it is. Is he in the middle of the road? Is he in a parking lot? Is it Domino's Pizza? I mean,
It says it's on a public street. It says, well, more specifically, it says 400
My
block of West
goodness.
Gray Street is a public street.
I mean, I need more information. I mean, does it say he's on a street there, or are you assuming?
No, I'm not assuming. I'm saying what it says is that the 400th block of West Gray Street is a public street. It doesn't say specifically.
Doesn't ask him if he's driving, none of that in there? I mean, really?
Yeah, he did have the vehicle in drive with his foot on the brake and was unconscious. But in regards to the location aspect of it, there's nothing further stated on
Yeah,
that.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna find no probable cause. I can't just go forward with assumptions here, you know? Mr. Cleary, be safe, man. You know, we have every single day. Look, this weekend, how many people died on the road here in Harris County? You know, really, be smart.
Thank you.
You know, you have but one life. Don't do something where you either ruin your life or more importantly, ruin someone else's life. Okay?
I appreciate
Please
that.
take a seat for me, sir. I'm gonna find no probable cause.
We need to be grateful to have honest people like Judge David Fleischer serving in the courts, as they don't let laws be bent, and especially in a time where having a certain skin color can render you a victim. As Judge Fleischer said multiple times, life is hard as it is, so make sure you don't find yourself in such a situation. Subscribe for more such amazing courtroom content.